Welcome to the Big Four Accounting Firms podcast, brought to you by big4accountingfirms.com and the Big Four Accounting Firms YouTube channel. Before we get started, just wanted to remind everybody to support us if you have a chance or if you can. Even $1 helps, and we have a link in the description to a website called Buy Me a Coffee. It's just a way to donate to us and support us. Again, any amount is helpful so that we can keep putting out content. And there's also other ways for you to support us in the show notes to this podcast or on YouTube in the description. So today's podcast, I wanted to talk about dealing with change of the Big Four accounting firms. Yesterday, we talked about people quitting the Big Four accounting firms, and we got a lot of responses to that. And there was one person on YouTube that commented that they worked at Deloitte in sort of a senior, or no, in a smaller group. The number of employees being about 350, or a small office. And in the past 12 months, 12 partners have left. And the left part is in quotes. So, maybe they, who knows the reasons they left. But the person also said, because somebody asked, why are they leaving? It says money doesn't buy happiness. And that when they first joined, they were told by a senior partner, and that partners never quit because it's too financially lucrative. And how I think this relates to dealing with change is because if people are quitting, there's going to be a lot of things that change, and especially if partners quit. And I think that's also a misconception too, that partners never quit. And when you're in the Big Four, people talk about that, like, oh, once you make partner, it's money in the bank. You don't have to worry about anything. They never leave, and I've seen multiple partners leave in different groups. I've seen a partner leave for ethical reasons. He didn't get along with the other partners because they were more, I don't know how to say it. They weren't really ethical in the way that they treated staff, the way they approached winning work, and so you have to be comfortable dealing with change. People are going to be leaving all the time, especially if people are quitting. You have to be comfortable with that, and there's no guarantees either with the partner thing, with them saying that they're going to stay, because a lot of partners leave all the time. I've seen other partners leave. They were very technical. They went to industry because with industry, there's other forms of compensation like equity compensation. You can earn a higher salary. You don't have to work as much as you do in the Big Four accounting firms. Being a partner at the Big Four accounting firms is very lucrative, and depending on how you play it, you don't have to work that much, but you always have to be managing your revenue. It can be pretty hectic, and there's some pretty good industry gigs out there where you have humongous departments and a lot of people below you to where you don't have to work as much, or you might know the CFO, things like that, but also just the money as well. The money can be very lucrative. But another thing too is working in a small office, like this person that commented said, about 350 individuals. Those types of groups and those types of regions, small offices, are going to have the most change because they have the fewest people. So you're going to experience a lot more change in those types of groups, in my opinion, in my experience, than you will if you work in a larger office. If you work in a larger office in a large city like New York or London, things are going to seem a little bit more stabilized. You're going to have an office partner that remains the same. You're going to have a bunch of partners. The numbers are going to roughly stay the same because the Big Four accounting firms are basing their operations out of those offices, where out of smaller groups, you're just going to have, things are going to be a lot more in flux because there's less people and there's more opportunities for change. So you're going to see potentially, like, I think you could see a lot of different changes, like a lot of partners quitting at once and going to work for a different regional firm, a different industry, working in industry. I mean, because if you're a partner in a regional, in a small office, and you're constantly getting offers from companies all over the state, the country, because you have a lot more experience in staff, and if you have a lot more experience, then you're going to have people reaching out from all over the country or your region because there might not be the people with your experience in their region. And it's also just hard in general to find really experienced people that are available, that are willing to leave. And so the partners are going to be getting offers for a lot more money nationally than they would in a region. So like that's why you can see huge changes in these smaller offices, or they might seem huge, but at the end of the day, the big four accounting firms are going to move along. If you lose a lot of partners in one office, then another office will pick it up. The big four accounting firms will do direct hires from industry, other places. They'll adjust to do it. So that's another thing too. And that's kind of why I made this podcast today, is because you have to be ready for change no matter what. In the big four accounting firms, there's going to be people leaving. There's always going to be turnover. There's these periods of turnover. Like in my career and the groups that I've been in, there'd be periods where nobody left, and there'd be periods where tons of people left, and you thought your mind, your mind was going to explode. But even in industry, I've seen a lot of people leave when people in industry don't normally leave, because people in industry, it's typically a good career. They're just there because they want more work-life balance and to be with their families. But there's some companies that have a toxic environment. Like today I saw a headline about Activision and their employees walking out. You can have scenarios where people walk out of there. And it's just accounting in general as well, because accounting is a difficult job with a lot of tough deadlines and a lot of complicated work. So that's one thing you have to be ready for, is change in the big four accounting firms. And it's going to, and I don't see that changing, because the big four accounting firms are just getting bigger and bigger. And it's harder for one person, one CEO, one partner, even multiple partners to manage the large size of these companies. So there's going to be these huge changes internally, specific to regions, and they're not going to be able to adapt fast enough. They will adapt over time, but there's one thing that's constant in the big four accounting firms, and there's lots of change. So that's just something to be mindful of. You might see people quitting around you. You might see partners leave during this time. But even though it might be unusual right now, over the long term, it's more usual. Like I've seen a lot of partners leave, and I see a lot of people leave, but I think there's just more opportunity for other people. Hopefully take advantage of using it to get more compensation. But if you don't, you can use it to get more interesting work and move on to engagements that you find interesting, move into industry with a higher salary, move into an industry job that seems interesting to you. So be ready for change. You always have to be ready for change in the big four accounting firms. Don't let it catch you off guard or destroy your career. Take advantage of it. So I think that's my takeaway from today. Thanks for listening. Stay up to date. Make sure to subscribe to this podcast and check out the show notes for ways that you can support us. Thanks for listening.